Welcome to It's About Time, where we interview historical people about their life, and today we have the one and only Princess Diana. But first we have a documentary about her life and backstory.
The 1st of July 1961 into the Spence family. They were a British nobility, royal ancestry, royal family. She grew up as the youngest daughter of John Spencer and Frances Roach. She grew up in Park House, situated on the Sandringham estate at Prince Charles, at a polo match when she was 16 in November 1977. Then the Prince proposed on the 6th of February 1981, and Lady Diana accepted, but their engagement was kept secret for around 4 weeks.
And one day you will more likely be queen. It's a tremendous change for someone, if I may say, of 19 to make all of a sudden, the transition.
It is, but I've had a small run out to the last 6 months. And next to British Charles and I can't go wrong. He's there with me.
Are you planning, you must be planning for the future, where you're going to live and this sort of thing?
Diana's wedding to the Prince of Wales took place at St Paul's Cathedral on 29th of July 1981 and reached a global television audience of over 750 million people.
Easy peasy.
Meeting so many people is still quite new to you. How have you reacted to this warmth and affection?
It's been a tremendous boost. Just a mass of smiling faces. It's wonderful.
Quite emotional.
Over June 1982, the Princess gave birth to the couple's first son, Prince William, and the delivery took place under the care of Pinker in a private Lydon wing of St Mary's Hospital in Paddington, London.
So what did Prince William do immediately? For the next few minutes we stood back and watched an extraordinary virtuoso performance by a small royal child with 2 proud parents in supporting roles.
A second son, Prince Harry, was born on 15th of September 1984, the same place as Prince William in the new wing of St Mary's Hospital in Paddington. After when Prince Harry was born, there was media criticising that the Prince and Princess of Wales had marriage issues and constantly arguing during that time.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
From Buckingham Palace that with regret the Prince and Princess of Wales have decided to separate. Their Royal Highnesses have no plans to divorce.
From our very own Foreign Secretary Robin Cook, who's in the Far East at the moment, that Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident in Paris just a few hours ago. There had been extreme concern that Diana was very seriously injured when she was taken from the wreckage. There was a news blackout to all intents and purposes for a significant amount of time. Confirmation from the Interior Minister from Paris for a short time, and now there is confirmation that Diana, Princess of Wales, has died. She died at 4 a.m. after going into cardiac arrest. That, according to doctors at the hospital in Paris, Diana.
I hope everyone enjoyed the documentary to learn about her life, but now we have got an exclusive interview with Princess Diana herself. Hello Diana, lovely to meet you. So let's start from the beginning and talk about how you were brought up from a young age as a royal.
Yes, well, my father was in fact John Spencer, and then obviously he got honoured and was made Earl Spencer. I was born into the Spencer family, which are in line to the British throne. We lived in a park house in Sandringham, an estate that the Queen owns, and basically I lived on the estate all my life until I got married.
Ooh. How did you manage the press at such a young age? Was it natural for you, or did you find it quite unnatural with people writing about you and your family?
Well, actually, the press came quite naturally to me. From a young age, I was in front of the cameras, and my parents knew about it. I wasn't really affected by it until obviously later on, because it was happening to people and children around us all at the time. And I knew from a very young age about people like the Queen, so I was very used to being in very important situations.
Yeah, if you were from a young age, I wouldn't be fazed by it either. Let's talk about the media. They really started to get to know you more ever since you met your first husband, Prince Charles. How did you meet him?
Well, I first met Prince Charles. It was quite a funny situation, actually, because at the time, obviously, he was courting my sister, and I was only 16 years old. My older sister, Lady Sarah, were invited as guests to a country weekend. It was 1980 at the time, to watch a polo match. And obviously we saw Prince Charles playing polo. I'd never spoken to him before then. And then when I first saw him and he was playing polo, I was instantly found interest in him and grew fond of him, and wanted to get to know him. And then before you knew it, we were engaged within 3 months.
Wow. How did you feel about that, getting engaged so soon? Did you feel rushed, or how did you feel about getting engaged so soon?
Yes, it did feel very rushed. Because obviously a week after meeting him, he broke courtship with my sister, and everything felt very quick indeed. Then I was formally introduced to his family, and before I knew it, I just wanted to be with him.
Oh, did you ever feel forced to get engaged to Charles, as his reputation and title to be future king?
I didn't feel forced to be engaged to him, but there was a little bit of pressure, and obviously the press found out about me and Charles very early, and they instantly started referring to me as the future Queen, and obviously they all started calling me Princess Di, and we'd only been courting about a month, so it did feel quite quick at that stage. And you know, we weren't really thinking about marriage at that time, but the press instantly got interested in the idea, and so you know, we could have been together for a longer period of time before actually getting married, I think.
Oh, well, thank you very much for answering all the questions. We will come back to you later. So now we'll go into a news report. After that, we go to Mary on the street report, where she's outside Buckingham Palace.
Here I am outside Buckingham Palace, where hundreds of people are lined up to pay their respect and dedication to Princess Diana, who sadly passed away this morning. We are currently waiting for a statement from Buckingham Palace about how Princess Diana has died, but rumours have surfaced saying she has passed away in a car crash while on vacation in Paris. We have been told that her family, including the Queen, Prince Charles and her 2 sons, Prince William and Harry, have been made aware of the situation and are deeply saddened and upset, but we are also trying to make a statement about what happened later on.
Welcome back to That Time. And now it's time for our news report from 1997. Hello and welcome to the news headlines in 1997. First, we start off with the Titanic. The Titanic opened in 1997 and became the biggest total box office film ever in film history, with over $1 billion, and also became the movie with the most Academy Awards, totaling 13, and its release date was 23rd of January 1998. Harry Potter was published. Harry Potter was published in 1997 and written by J.K. Rowling. The first book in the award-winning Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling was published on the 26th of June 1997, called Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa, the Nobel Prize winner who devoted her life to helping the sick and the poor, has died at the age of 87. She died of a heart attack at the headquarters of a missionary charity in Calcutta shortly before 5 p.m. on the 5th of September 1997. Tony Blair. Tony Blair became Prime Minister in May 1997. The Labour Party won by a landslide in the general election history, the largest in the history. Tony Blair, at 43 years old, became the youngest Prime Minister since 1812. O.J. Simpson. After 17 hours of deliberations of the 3 days, the jury reaches the verdict. Mr. Simpson is guilty on the 2 deaths. On February the 4th, 1997, the jury unanimously found Simpson responsible for both deaths. These are the headlines for today. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Millie. Now we are back for our second half interview with Princess Diana. So, Diana, so we talked about your childhood and getting engaged. Obviously, getting engaged, you were quite young. How do you feel about getting married at such a young age?
Well, I felt happy, but the pressure of the paparazzi monitoring my every movement, it did feel quite intimidating. They were documenting my wedding planning, what I was doing, what I was wearing. It was very difficult to enjoy a normal sort of girl's dream wedding. So I was fortunate that I was getting married, but also I was quite young, so I did sort of miss out on the sort of partying life, and I was only starting my life, but then all of a sudden I was a wife and second in line to the future queen.
Yeah. And like your wedding wasn't like as such as a typical normal wedding. It was viewed by 750 million people. I can imagine that would have been very daunting. And then, as people were you were praised, and down to your style of dress.
Yes, because we wanted everything that was mine and Charles's style. And our own, we knew that it wasn't everybody's taste, if you know what I mean, but we did want sort of some little bits in there that were our own sort of touch on things, and it was important to us, and I wanted my dress to be, the dress that you always picture wanting as a young girl, like a sort of princess, really, and so I added my own touches to the dresses, and thankfully we had a very good resource and reaction to the dress. People really did quite like it a lot, which was quite pleasing, really.
Yeah. Shortly after you and Charles got married, you welcomed your first son together, William, and then you went on your first tour. You got a lot of backlash for bringing William with you at such a young age. Why do you think that, and why did you bring him?
Well, William was very little at the time, just a few months old. So obviously I didn't want to leave him as a mother and a new mother, and I didn't want to not seeing him for months on end. So when I got back, all I wanted to do was care for William and keep him safe and not leave him with a nanny. Even though nannies are wonderful, I didn't want my children to be brought up by a nanny. I wanted to be their mother and to be there and spend a lot of quality time with my children. And I understand that there was a little bit of a backlash, and we were a little bit worried in case he got hurt or ill when we were travelling across Europe. But, I knew that he would be safe with me and Charles, and obviously our team of supporters.
Yeah.
And staff.
Yeah,
there were a lot of
definitely. So, just for now, we are going to our first performance of our show. Please welcome our live show. It didn't have a name on.
It's good.
I saved every letter you wrote to me. From the moment I read them, I knew you were mine. You said you were mine. I thought you were mine. Do you know what Angelica said when we saw your first letter arrive? She said, be careful with that one, love. He will do what it takes to survive. You and your words fly, my I'm searching and scanning for answers in every line, for some kind of sign. And when you were mine, the world seemed to burn. You published the letters she wrote to you. You told the whole world how you brought this girl into our bed. In clearing your name, you have ruined our lives. Do you know what Angelica said when she'd read what you'd done? She said, you've married an Icarus. He's flown too close to the sun. You and your words obsessed with your legacy. Your sentences bordered on senseless, and you are paranoid in every paragraph how they perceive you. I'm erasing myself from the narrative. Let future historians wonder how Eliza reacted when you broke her heart. You have torn it all apart, I'm watching it burn. Watching it burn. The world has no right to my heart. The world has no place in our bed. They don't get to know what I said. I'm burning the memories, burning the letters that might have redeemed you. You forfeit all right to my heart. You forfeit the place in our bed. You'll sleep in your office instead, with only the memories of when you were mine. I hope that you burn.
To Charlotte for that performance. Now we're back with Princess Diana. Now, one of the main questions that everyone has really wanted to know is, shortly after you had your second son, and Charles had marriage issues, in which resulted in you and Charles both having affairs. Why do you think that happened, and where did the issues start?
Well, obviously, you know, after Harry was born, and during my pregnancy with Harry, we were constantly bickering, having arguments that we couldn't agree with anything, and you know, it made us really disconnected as a couple. And we thought, like many couples do, that having Harry and having another child would solve that problem, but you know, unfortunately it just makes those problems worse between a couple. And when he was born, obviously it made us sort of upset with each other about every little thing, really. So much so that we didn't even want to be in the same room as each other. And so really we were very unhappy at the time, very unhappy with each other in the end. And we tried very hard to solve our problems, but in the end, sadly, like in the case with many couples, it did end up with us getting a divorce.
When you and Charles did divorce, it came of a loss of a big shock to the general public, as you could not see put you two united in front of the camera and public events. The both of you weren't happy in the relationship. How did you feel at the backlash of the divorce?
Well, when we announced our divorce, we didn't really know that it would be such a shock to people, because, you know, we didn't really talk about it or show anything about it, because we had roles to fulfill and a job to do, and we still carried on doing that, and, you know, we still carried on fulfilling our roles as royals and doing our duty, and also fulfilling our roles as parents to our boys.
Yeah. So you said you had problems. What sort of problems would you say you had? What were the exact problems?
Well, obviously, you mentioned earlier about certain other relationships. Charles did have, you know, a friend of his, Camilla Parker Bowles, who, you know, she sort of came into his life before I even met Charles, and Charles seemed to be quite fond of Camilla, and so it was quite difficult, really, for a wife at the time to know that your husband was maybe in love with somebody else.
Did William have any, or was he, do you reckon he was too young to understand what was going on?
Yes, the boys were very young at the time, and you know, really as a parent, we knew that it was the right thing for us to look after the boys. We didn't want them to grow up in an unhappy marriage with a family that was unhappy, and so we knew at the time that it was the right thing to do. And obviously the media and the press were immediately very interested and maybe a little upset with Charles and I about not being the future king and queen as they maybe hoped that we would do. But you know, I still hope that even though I'm not going to be the Queen of England, people still see me as a queen of people's hearts.
Yeah. How do you feel that this future's going to bring for William? Do you reckon there'll be any, and the boys, do you reckon there'll be any problems in the future with you two being apart? Or?
No, our boys are very, very strong, and they've been brought up in a very loving family, and they are very bright boys who will do very well in their lives and their future. I just hope that the press treats them kindly, and they're well looked after, and obviously their father and their grandparents will bear this in mind when taking care of them, because they really do have a very large burden to bear by being, you know, obviously William is the future King of England, which is a very, very important job, which I'm sure he'll take very seriously, but I do hope that, you know, he will be taken care of as well.
Yeah, what are your opinions on the Queen Elizabeth at the moment?
Obviously, you know, she has a duty, and she is, you know, she has been trained to play this role in her life, and so she is doing what she thinks is her duty.
Yeah, what would you describe your relationship with her?
She was my mother-in-law.
Yep. Do you have any conflict at all?
No,
none at all.
None at all.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you got anything nice planned today that you'd like to share with our audience?
I might go shopping later, and I might, you know, go to the gym, do some yoga. I might have a little go in a flotation tank, or do some meditation. I've got a dinner this evening with Elton John, which I'm very excited about. Obviously, we have an event later, which is for one of my AIDS charity galas, and then after that, Elton and I are going to go out for a little candle-lit dinner. Nothing, you know. Nothing. Totally platonic. Yes.
So you have a very close relationship with Elton John?
Oh, I love Elton. I love him. He's like
maybe a future romance?
Probably not his type.
So what would you say that was the most exciting thing about being in the royal family at the time that you were?
Oh, it was like a whirlwind. It really was. And, you know, I can look back on it, and there were times that were very exciting, and, you know, the clothes that I got to wear and the cars that I got to drive. But obviously, you know, I just want to get back to normal and get back to me now.
Wow, that's very interesting. So that's all the questions tonight, but a big thank you for being here today. It's been amazing talking to you and finding out. And we've got a VT of our second performances from Charlotte again. And thank you all for watching. Goodbye. Oh. It says we have a VT.
Says cut to VT.
Whenever I see someone less fortunate when someone needs a makeover, I simply have to take over. I know exactly what they need. And even in your case, though it's the toughest case I've yet to face, don't worry, I'm determined to succeed. Follow my lead, and yes, indeed, you will be popular. You're gonna be popular. I'll teach you the proper poise when you talk to boys, little ways to flirt and flounce. Oh, I'll show you what shoes to wear, how to fix your hair, everything that really counts to be popular. I'll help you be popular. You'll hang with the right cohorts. You'll be good at sports. Know the slang you've got to know. So let's start, 'cause you've got an awfully long way to go. Don't be offended by my frank analysis. Think of it as personality dialysis. Now that I've chosen to become a palincist or an advisor, there's nobody wiser. Not when it comes to popular. I know about popular, and with an assist from me to be who you'll be, instead of dreary who you were, well, are. There's nothing that can stop you from becoming popular. Lar. We're gonna make you popular. When I see depressing creatures with unprepossessing features, I remind them on their own we have to think of celebrated heads of state, or especially great communicators. Did they have brains or knowledge? Don't make me laugh. Hey, they were popular. Please, I know about popular. It's not about aptitude, it's the way you're viewed, so it's very shrewd to be very, very popular, like me. Why, Millie, look at you. You're beautiful. You're welcome. And though you protest your disinterest, I know clandestinely you're gonna grin and bear it. You newfound popularity